they get accused, certainly by the agencies, of having commoditized agency services.
The first thing they should be doing is stop obsessing about pool-based benchmarking. In this day and age, it doesn't work. It's a prehistoric way of evaluating media performance.
Hello, mate. Hello from New York.
Greetings from London, Tom.
Good. We are continuing our conversation, or our look at the role of procurement in media, which we've dug into a little bit on previous episodes, which we can kind of link up to. A couple of them created a lot of commentary, and we got a lot of really good, interesting feedback. We're going to continue looking at the role that procurement play in media, and this time we're going to look at the KPIs and maybe how they're evolving. And our observation is generally that they're evolving from being focused on price to being much more focused on value, which is a good thing. So we'll dig into that. Before we do, I should say, if you haven't yet subscribed to Media Snack on YouTube, please click here to subscribe to the channel. You'll probably be aware we put out a lot of videos which we might find very, very useful, and if you subscribe, you will be alerted every time a new video drops, okay?
Yep.
Right, mate, what is going on with media procurement?
Well, procurement have always played a very, very important role within marketing organizations, and that is to provide oversight over media investment, normally by evaluating the price of media placement, okay? And those were the challenges that were set within those organizations by their finance departments. Now, those prices of media were often calculated by comparing an advertiser's prices versus a kind of a dark pool of other advertisers to see how competitive one price was versus another. Now that was fine, and that was kind of fit for purpose perhaps 10 years ago. However, the marketplace has changed, and more progressive advertisers are demanding more from their auditing partners. They're demanding more from the marketplace, because what they're being challenged against is assessing the value of media investment rather than simply the price of it.
Yep. And that is really that's the change, right, that we've been observing. Procurement, we sympathize hugely with lots of the procurement leaders that we work with, because they've got a bad rap over the years, right? Of pushing commodity. They get accused, certainly by the agencies, of having commoditized agency services, having commoditized media buying, and arguably, the obsession for the last 10 years, the obsession on lowering the price of media potentially has been instrumental in causing marketers and agencies to take their eye off the ball in terms of quality. Lots of the brand safety issues, ad fraud, etc., have been, exacerbated because of the industry's obsession with just trying to buy cheap reach. And now I think we're seeing a big shift of advertisers moving away from obsessing about the cheapest possible reach to finding, placements of media that work harder. And that's the big shift from obsession of price into starting to think about the value of media. Thank goodness.
So what are the implications?
Well, the implications in terms of the role of a media procurement leader, this is the kind of the major implications. And we observe, many of them kind of already moving into this space, right? So we're not defining something brand new, but this is stuff that we're observing, which we think is really encouraging. The first is the desire to see all of the spend. And what we mean by that is, as you described in the beginning, is that historically, the performance tracking of media dollars has been somewhat limited to traditional media. And really, it's really just about TV. And so in the days when advertisers were predominantly maybe using TV, or TV, print and outdoor, bit of radio, that was okay because you could audit 80% of the spend. But now, as media budgets fragment across many, many different channels, and particularly in digital, which requires a very different methodology of measurement, we're finding that firstly, the proportion of advertiser spend that is kind of being audited is actually shrinking. And that's not good. So procurement leaders need to have full visibility of all the dollars and where they go. That's number one. Secondly, once they've got visibility of all the dollars, then you can start to see where waste is occurring. And we've been saying for many, many years, like even years before we even started doing Media Snack, our suspicion or expectation is there's still significant waste in the media supply chain. Not by anybody's great intention, just because it's not necessarily organized very well, okay? And for us to be, deep into the kind of digital revolution and marketers still not have a view on where their media dollars go is kind of ridiculous. So once you've got full visibility, then you can start to see how you can optimize that spend. You can start to look at where dollars are being wasted or value is being lost. And that might be some really quite obvious things, right? Buying digital display ads that are not seen by humans. Okay, that kind of seems like an obvious thing that we can address. Brand safety is an area that we can address. We want our dollars to be putting our messages in the right places, connecting with the right people in the right environments, all that kind of stuff. But it's often like value lost in the process itself. We often identify weakness in the client brief that makes it very difficult to the agency to plan effectively around KPIs which deliver growth. Okay, so once you have the visibility, so the second step is to then really interrogate that and see where value is being lost. Then the third area, once you can understand where value is being lost, you can also start to address where value can be created. Yeah. And we're finding the most progressive media procurement leaders are starting to really obsess about those areas where additional value can be created, because they want to see that media dollars are driving some kind of business outcome. Now, we know that it's very, very difficult to draw empirical links between a dollar spent in media and the sale of a toothbrush or the sale of a car. They're not always easy to link, certainly in the real world. In digital, digital transaction businesses are slightly different and can be optimized more easily. But when procurement start to obsess not about the input cost, the unit cost of media, but start to really think about the value of media to their business and the quality of media, it starts to readdress that obsession with price. And so that's what we're starting to see, which is really, really good. And we need more tools, and we need the auditing community, or the tools available, what we've traditionally called auditing, to be focused much more on quantifying value creation and obsessing less about price reduction. Now, I would add the final, those are the three main kind of implications onto the procurement side. There's also an implication on the agency side, which is that, as the question from procurement shifts from can you get this cheaper to can you make sure that we're buying stuff that drives a business outcome? Can you make sure that we're buying media which has a value to my business? Then actually the processes and the skills of an agency are going to change. And this idea of these giant aggregated kind of volume buying organizations in the past that we've talked about, maybe the role of those starts to change. We should link up here to an episode that we did, I think last year, where we designed what we called the WPP 2.0 playbook, which is exactly the advice that we were giving at that time to Mark Reed, CEO of WPP, about how to manage Group M. All the value-adding services we said should shift into the other agencies, and Group M continue to just be a highly optimized buying unit. That's the kind of change that we would expect, and that's a massive implication for agencies. Right, for those media procurement leaders that are watching and are interested in shifting from price to value, like lots of their colleagues, what should they be doing?
Good question. The first thing they should be doing is stop obsessing about pool-based benchmarking. In this day and age, it doesn't work. It's a prehistoric way of evaluating media performance. That's the first thing. Move away from that and stop obsessing about media price compared to other advertisers. The second thing they should be doing is challenging their media auditing partners or the media auditing community to figure out a way of evaluating sensibly the entirety of an advertiser's media spend, not just TV. And using TV methodology to audit or evaluate digital investment doesn't work either. So it has to be a smarter way of interrogating the entire media investment based on the strengths and weaknesses of those channels. And the third thing that they need to do is insist that their auditing partners provide strategic insight based on the data that they've interrogated. Data evaluation is academic if it doesn't inform media decision making. And so insisting on using that data to help those clients make smarter, better, more informed media decisions moving forward is all about trying to generate incremental value returns from your media investment.
I think that's really good advice. Listen, if you work in marketing procurement or media procurement, please let us know what you think about this. This is our observation. It's a seismic change, actually, and I think some of the most important change in the media industry is really going to come from procurement. Perhaps less so from the marketer, because these underlying KPIs are the things that we have to change. We've been advocating that for 10 years and we're very excited to see that happening. We'd love your thoughts and feedback. Please leave comments down below or get in touch with us and let us know how we can kind of continue to shape this discussion, because it's so important. Right, so good week 4.
Well, it's been a good week for smart, progressive, innovative advertisers that see advertising as a lever for growth. In this case, it's Procter & Gamble, who've announced that they have managed to find wastage within their advertising spend to the tune of 5%, $350 million, which they have taken out of their kind of the supply chain and are now able to reinvest back into kind of creativity. So, this follows on from Mark Pritchard's kind of keynote speech of a couple of years ago, where he wanted to minimize the wastage within his supply chain so that he could reinvest within creativity that was going to drive brand growth. Well, you know what? They found another 5%.
Yeah. And P&G, they get on with it, right?
Yeah.
They say they're going to do it and they've done it. And I think there's probably lots of lessons that other advertisers are going to look to learn from them, because freeing up 5% to reinvest in growth sounds like a very, very good plan right now.
Agreed. Tom, it's been a bad week for.
Well, it's actually in a related story. I mean, it's related in some ways because it's similar to the P&G announcement, but something else that can happen this week. And it's related to what we've been talking about, which are these kind of procurement KPIs shifting to value. Another large CPG business, Kraft Heinz, the result of a merger a few years ago, really struggling business, booted out their CEO. The new CEO of Kraft Heinz is a gentleman called Miguel Patricio, and that name might sound familiar because he's the ex-CMO of Anheuser-Busch, or AB InBev, I should say. Interesting, CMO becomes CEO. That doesn't happen very often, and so that's obviously interesting for the marketing industry and got us all excited. But this week, Miguel managed his first analyst call as CEO. He's only been in the job a month or so, and it was really interesting because obviously a lot of focus around marketing. Obviously that's maybe his comfort zone more, but a lot of people, Mark Ritson included, and I'll link to a really good piece that he wrote about the struggle of Kraft Heinz, the lack of investment that's gone into their brands and can they kind of recover. That's one of Miguel's going to be one of Miguel's obsessions. But in order to do that, how do you fund that? And so he's taking a page out of Mark Pritchard's playbook, which is interrogate the business and find wasted dollars and reinvest those back into creativity and the brands. It's exactly the same message. On subsequent days, you had the notice from P&G and now an announcement from Kraft Heinz. We are doing the same. I want to read you, I know we don't have much time, I want to read you what Miguel said because it's very well crafted and brilliant. He says, and he started off by saying, kind of apologizing on behalf of the company for not investing in brands over the years, and he has a plan. So he says that for investments that the business makes that are not working, we are going to move those dollars to areas that might need more investment. Okay? He said, where we've increased investment over the past 2 years, but in media we have been declining. We grew investment behind many things, agency fees, production, product development, but the things the consumer really sees we've declined in order to pay these other expenses. And he says this is not about cutting costs, it's about efficiency and making dollars already in our base work harder elsewhere. It's exactly the Mark Pritchard story, right? look at where we're spending money, look at where value is being lost, redirect that into areas of growth. And that is a role that marketing and media procurement can play a massive part of. Right, question of the week. Is marketing procurement shifting from price to value?
Yes, no, whatever.
Excellent, good. As I said, please do subscribe to the channel to be updated with new content, but that is your media snack for now. Thank you for watching.
See you next time.